This is Jasmine from Star Hypnosis. I am a level 2 QHHT practitioner based in Sydney. For anyone who is unaware of what QHHT is, it stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. The modality was developed over decades by the late and great Dolores Cannon for helping clients connect with themselves at the deepest level of trance. So today I'd like to give you some insight into what a QHHT experience can mean for you as a client. And so we are joined by Mai, who has generously offered to share a little bit about what her QHHT sessions have been for her. Welcome, Mai. How are you?
Thanks, Jasmine.
Yeah, thanks for coming along to have this conversation today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I've done a few QHHT sessions.
Yes.
I've done 3 full sessions and 1 future life, both in person and virtually.
Yes.
And
So the QHHT sessions, the full sessions were all in person, but the future life one was done online.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
and it was amazing that doing it online actually worked really well, which I was pleasantly surprised with. I was recommended to come and see you by a Reiki practitioner.
Okay.
And she'd said a few times like, oh, you need to go see Jasmine. And just finally she's like, I'm just going to connect you. So I had my first session in 2020. So it would have been March.
Very good.
Just when COVID was really about to take off.
Yeah. So what were some of the reasons that you wanted to have a QHHT session?
The driving force for me was I'm not very grounded in my body.
Okay.
So I wanted to reconnect with myself physically. I've always been curious about past lives and connecting with higher consciousness. I read the book Many Lives, Many Masters a few years ago, and I actually, as a child, could remember past lives. And when I was in preschool, I asked the other kids how they died in their past life. My mum told me that's not what you ask other kids at preschool, and my response was, oh, but why? Like, I just didn't understand. I couldn't comprehend that they didn't remember.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've always been interested in and a bit skeptical about as well. But then more experience and more memories have come up that really put things into perspective.
It's really interesting that you described the story of remembering you had past lives as a child, but then still being skeptical about that as an adult. How was that for you?
So I remembered it as a kid and then forgot about it for probably 20-25 years. And then as I was exploring spirituality, consciousness more, I started remembering other memories that I had as a kid as well. And some of them I thought they were memories that I actually had as a child. And I've spoken to my parents and they are like, no, that didn't happen. So, and I'm not very imaginative either. Like, I would like to say that it was my vivid imagination, but that's definitely not a strength of mine. I think when I read Many Lives, Many Masters, I was like, oh, this really makes sense to me. I was agnostic at the time. I had been agnostic for 10 years and read that and just thought this is what makes sense. And I grew up in a very traditional home, but with, I guess, secretly non-traditional parents. And my dad would always say to me, whenever we were having a fight as a kid, as a teenager, him and I would clash. We get on amazingly now. He would always say to me, you chose us as parents, you chose to come here. And I would always respond like, oh, as if. Now I'm like, yeah, 100% good choice to spirit Mai for choosing those like mum and dad as parents. But yeah, so quite open-minded for from regional Australia, farming on one side, working class the other side. So you wouldn't expect such open parents, but I guess going back a few generations, like my dad's dad was actually a hypnotist. So
really,
yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He, I just remembered now, but found a newspaper clipping. He used to, he was into sport, like football, like rugby type football. So he would do that for athletes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it runs in your family.
Yeah, I guess so, being open. Although I was never open to hypnosis, my little brother was.
Right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I think maybe I was just closed off. You never want to do what your parents tell you to.
Exactly, yes. That's a familiar feeling I think that many people can relate with.
Yeah.
So now that you've had several hypnosis experiences, how do you feel about hypnosis itself and the visualization journey that QHHT produces for you?
So I love science, but there's a lot of things that have happened through hypnosis that, so I guess things that have come up in sessions that have then come true in exactly the timing that has come out through the hypnosis. So a few things. One was a job opportunity that came up to the day, so 3 months after my first hypnosis. And then after my second full session, or during my second full session, I visualised my dream home. 2 days later, it came up on the market. And in the hypnosis, I was told, and when I say I was told, I was told by my higher self that I would have it within a month. And that happened, and that's very quick because it had to go to auction, but it was my dream home and I am in love with it, and it's just so perfect for me. So all these things that you can't really explain with science, but it does, it just kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. How did it feel when you were receiving that kind of information? Because you've got this analytical, scientific part of your mind that's not used to thinking in this way, yet you're receiving all of this like really amazing information about your life and about your future. Not everybody, by the way, receives information about their future, so that's quite unique as well for you. But yeah, how does your mind feel, or how do you feel when you're in the hypnosis receiving this information?
So I get there's a few different parts to that answer.
Yeah.
So in the hypnosis itself, I guess you've got your conscious mind there that's kind of observing, and I do like control a bit, so
Mm-hmm.
that conscious mind does like to try and get involved. So I've had to be really conscious about putting it to the side, ironically. And that part also questions like, is this true? But then through things that have happened after the hypnosis, I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And the job opportunity wasn't something that I sought out. It was literally someone coming up to me on that day saying, oh, this has happened, would you be interested in this? And then, but within the session itself, there's lots of things lots of information that's really valuable for my life now, and reflecting on my journey as a spirit.
Mm-hmm. So do you find that some of the information that has come to you that's been helpful for your life, is that mainly through the conversation with the higher self?
Both experience in the past lives and conversation with higher self have really valuable information. With the experience of the past lives, each of those are shown to you for a reason, and you can get really good insight from those. The last session we did, I had an experience of the planning room, so it's not exactly a past life, but it is, it's a past between lives. So it's where you go to plan this life. And my higher self made it very clear, like, this is very metaphorical. Your brain can't comprehend what it's actually like. But a lot of information in that was quite insightful. And the thing I took away from that, so I am quite business focused. So spreadsheets and decision trees are very much part of how I do things. So in that, I saw that as a planning for this life, and so you can see the decision tree. And the big insight from that was that if you have a choice, the fact that it's a choice for you means that it's right, because you've got a whole array of different lives you could live that are planned before you come, and any of those is right for your soul. So that just, when you've got a tough decision to make, kind of gives me comfort knowing that whatever I do, it's going to develop my soul, and it's an important part of the journey.
Yeah, that's actually a really nice message to receive, isn't it? That every decision that you make is ultimately the right choice for you. So that feeling that we have often in our daily lives, that, oh my God, is that going to be the wrong choice? From this higher perspective, that there really isn't right or wrong, there's only really right and right.
Yes. Yeah. Any choice you have is right.
Yeah, that's really a really, really beautiful message. How have you applied that in your daily life? Is there like an example?
I've had a few decisions to make lately. And sometimes you might be going down the path of one decision and it's maybe not going how you think. So it's nice knowing that like other options are there and that they're equally as valid.
Yeah.
There was lots of really nice insights from that experience. Another part of that was going to the quality garden.
Yes.
So that's where there's an orchard there, you pick the qualities that you want to have as part of that life. So there are a few qualities that I should bring back to this life, and one of them is more fun. And the fruit for that is pear. So I went and purchased a few pears the next day. And then, so I'll have them, and I've just remembered to have fun.
That's beautiful.
And I think I am having more fun. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. I'm a bit more silly. Yeah. I am quite serious, or not serious, I'm quite focused and determined. So it's really important for me to have that reminder to have fun, because like Earth is beautiful, this experience of life is beautiful, and we can have a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Earlier you mentioned that when you're in session, sometimes your conscious mind comes through with things, doubts and fears, and that feeling of I'm making this up. That is something that I tell clients that they are likely to experience that through a session. So what advice would you give as someone who has been through a few QHHT sessions to get through that feeling so they can get the most out of their session?
Yeah, I still think sometimes, am I making this up? And then I also wonder, because I've done a few sessions now, is my conscious more integrated with my higher self as well? So maybe they're speaking the same language. I think just go with it. Sometimes once you might start going down a path and you're thinking, oh my gosh, am I making this up? And then you keep going further, and then it gets to something really obscure that you think, there's no way I can make this up. There's no way I don't consciously know this. I had one experience in an ancient civilization and I was talking about star constellations that I have no idea about. And then I went and Googled it after. I was like, oh my gosh, so that is actually a constellation. And at the beginning of that I thought, oh, maybe I am making this up. But then as we explored further, I realised that it wasn't anything that I knew from this life.
It sounds like a pretty cool experience to be able to relate some of the information that you discovered through QHHT and find a reflection of that out in Google land.
Yeah, I've Googled a few of my, that particular experience, and actually read one of your blogs of someone else that experienced life in that civilization, and it was amazing. There were so many parallels. Just really interesting parallels. Like one of my colleagues gave me a stone as a gift, and it was related to that ancient civilization, and the shape of the stone is the exact shape of the building that was a big part of the life in that civilization. Yeah. And just little things like that, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, this is the exact same as that building from that life.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice little synchronicity there to bring it all together.
Yeah, so it is.
Yeah, that's lovely. So if you could summarise your QHHT experiences in 3 words for the audience, what would you say?
Surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Comforting.
Comforting.
Yeah.
Okay. Why comforting?
I think because you just come out with a much broader perspective and not so focused on, oh, my life, this is what's happening in my life right now. You kind of think of it as on broader, as in like across Earth right now, but then also you as a soul, your journey over many lives, and not all lives on Earth either.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Thank you. And if someone was considering a QHHT session, what advice would you give them about whether maybe taking a session?
Do it.
Do it?
Yeah, I've told a lot of people to do it. Be open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Go in the tangents as well. I've had really interesting things come through right at the end of the session when I think it's over, and the question that we end with is like, is there anything else I should ask? And that's where really interesting information has come through that is just something I would never think of. Yeah.
One question I do like to ask towards the end, is there any question that you, to the higher self, is there any question that you would have liked Maggie to ask today? Yeah, because sometimes it can bring about some unexpected gold moments.
Yeah, there's been some very interesting insights come through in those times. And have a think about, like, think carefully, like have a list of questions you want to go in with, but be open to going beyond those as well.
Yeah, because if you're open to going beyond those, that's when you can open up and really let the wisdom from the higher self come through.
Yeah, and often, like, you're coming from a very human perspective, but there could be something much bigger out there that could be communicated.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your valuable and wonderful insights today, Maggie. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for helping me get the insights.
You're very welcome. Thanks everybody for listening. And yeah, thank you, May, for coming along today. We hope to see you again soon.